The Kentucky Wildcats are getting ready to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks, a game that many are going to look at and assume should be a blowout for Kentucky. But I'm telling you, the way the Cats have been playing and the way the Gamecocks have played at some points this year, this could be a little more interesting than many imagine. We're going to break down that game on today's episode of the Wildcats Today Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak, writer over at Kentucky Wildcats on SI. Joined, as always, by Carson Nash. Carson, fighting the flu. How are you feeling? You kicking its butt, or is it vice versa?
Yeah, well, a little better today, but this pod is definitely sponsored by Tamiflu right now. Yeah. I mean, if I wasn't on that, it would be a rough battle. Yeah, doing all right. Felt like I got punched by Thanos, but other than that, I think we're doing pretty good.
Punched by Thanos is never not funny. That was good. So, normally, those of you that have been every shower here at Wildcats Today, we normally, preview the game, talk about what happened the game before. We did a live right after the loss to Ole Miss, as much as it pained us to press start on that. We did it. So you want to hear our thoughts on the Ole Miss game, go check that out on the YouTube. Click, the live button that's down there, previewing, or I guess talking about what happened in that game. So today we are just going to preview the South Carolina game. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, we're really getting bigger and better here at the Wildcats Today podcast. We got social medias now. We're doing these live. So appreciate y'all being here. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button so you know when we're doing stuff. Appreciate y'all as always. So, Carson, this South Carolina game is one that seriously, I think people are writing this game off. I think that I would have some concerns about this game even if we weren't on this kind of skid that we're on, because look at what the Gamecocks have done. They hosted Florida, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M and hung around in all those games. You could argue should have won a few of those games. So now that's at home. They've been a lot better on their home floor than they've been away from their home floor. But still, this team has some good players that are going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, no doubt. The ending of those games, too, they all came down to the wire. They had Florida, honestly. They had Florida beat. So, I mean, they haven't won a conference game, but at the same time, if the ball bounces different ways in a couple of those games, we're saying, hey, South Carolina is a decent team. So it's not like they don't have the talent and skill to come in here and beat you. So we're going to have to be on our A game. And we need to be on our A game because we need a comeback win that feels good and gets the team back on track to get our heads right moving forward to finish out the SEC season.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this. We could win this game by 1 point, half a point, 25 points. I'm going to feel great because we need to win. But talking about building that confidence that we kind of need, I mean, we know who's coming to town on Tuesday. And they owe us one. So, we're going to have to be ready to rock and roll for that game. I'd love to see us blow the doors off the South Carolina team. That would instill a little bit more confidence in me if we just absolutely blew the brakes off this team. And I'll tell you, it's black and white to me. Collin Murray-Boyles scares the crap out of me, Carson. The crap out of me. How do you stop that kid? Did you watch highlights on him? Right?
Yeah, he looks like a freak.
How do you, our team, knowing I'm not talking about in general, I'm talking about our team, how do you stop him? I mean, you give your shot at it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one thing. He was really, really good last year, but this year he's really coming into his own. For me, he's a 25% three-point shooter on the season. So I would honestly say I would force him to shoot, which is easier said than done. Oh. I'm going on lockdown or something. I don't know.
I'll pause it. Hold on. Well, the robots were coming to kill Carson, but I guess
I am still alive.
Yeah, good news. But what were you yapping about with CBM or MB, CMB? That's what they call him. That's his nickname.
Yeah. So I was saying I would love to see them force him to shoot and kind of play a couple steps towards the paint on him and give him those 3-point opportunities and kind of play the percentage game. I know you got bitten by that against Malik Dia and Z, but at some point you're going to have to give a little bit with our defense because we just don't have the guys at this point So you're going to have to give him some open looks, whether you like it or not, and hope that they don't fall, or hope that a couple of the early ones do fall, and that causes him to kind of overshoot and maybe get too confident and stop taking the ball to the rim, which he's so good at.
Yeah.
So I think doing that could cause him some disruption in the flow of how he gets in the game. But it's going to be really, really hard to stop that guy. He's an absolute stud, and he's going to be able to beat our guys off the dribble. He's a lot like a Dew in that fact, where he can beat your forwards off the dribble, and he's as strong as some of the centers in the league. So it's really, really hard to stop him. He's a physical beast.
I mean, looking at Collin Murray-Boyles, I say to myself, Andrew Carr and Anzi Almanar, no shot in hell they're stopping Collin Murray-Boyles. But then, so it's one of those, his frame is so interesting, Collin Murray-Boyles. So he's 6'7". He's one of the guys, I saw him up close at media days in Birmingham. That I'm telling you, I think I don't know why they would underplay his size. You know what I mean? But he looks a little taller than 6'7". I find that.
Well, how much taller was he than you?
Well, I wasn't that close to him, but he was next to Nick Pringle, and Nick Pringle is
6'4".
Nick Pringle is 6'10". That's not funny. Nick Pringle is 6'10", and
Mike Collins.
Yeah, I know. Nick and Boyles was right up on him. I mean, I'm telling you that. I don't know why they would undervalue his height, but his frame at 6'7", 245 pounds is interesting, because you have to look at it like this. He's stronger than probably Ainsley and Carr combined. I mean, in all honesty.
Oh, yeah.
And the same height as Ainsley, a little bit shorter than Carr.
Quicker than both.
He's quicker and stronger than both of them. Then it's like, okay, obviously I think Amari, could handle the strength, but
then you lose your inside presence.
And if you pull out Amari to guard him, you're right. If one of the guards takes it down low, who's going to be there in the lane to stop him, to potentially, what shot blocker is going to be there? So, I mean, I don't know. We don't match up well with this kid, and we didn't match up well with the Duthiero, and what happened? He went berserk. So, I mean, I think that I agree with you. Give him a step or two. If he makes it, if he makes it 3, I think now if he starts the game 3 for 3 from 3, yeah, you got to get out there on him. But I mean,
and I'm not saying like give him the 3-point shots. Like as soon as that dude picks up his dribble, you're closing out as hard as you possibly can. Like it's a dead on sprint to not let him get that shot up or contest it as the best possible way you can. But you're going to have to give him some space too.
I mean, we're talking about giving him give yourself a step and a half to where he picks that dribble up and you see him cock back to shoot, you immediately are jumping and you're in his face to block the shot or attempt, bother him. But that still gives you, if he puts that ball on the ground, you're able to get back quick enough and you can kind of, stop.
I'd like to see a little bit of, if we're doing that, you close out, you get back. I think I'd like to see us fall down more, because he drives to the rim so hard that he's going to push off a little bit, and we're not strong enough to really compete with that. So why don't we just sell it and take a charge? Because it will be a charge, because he goes in there like a bulldozer. So I would we haven't done that a lot this year, take a bunch of charges, but that's also technically a turnover as well. So we don't force very many turnovers. So that's another way that we could possibly get them to turn the ball over.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, he's also a really good rebounder. I mean, he's a great, the average is 8.8 rebounds per game, but he's one of those, he's a strong, he goes up there strong. He plays to me a lot like Broom over at Auburn. And that's when I first really said, holy moly, this kid's good. I watched that game, that South Carolina Auburn game. Collin Murray-Boyles ate his lunch, ate Broom's lunch. I mean, cooked him. And that was where I was like, oh my. because, that's the guy that people think might win player of the year. And Murray-Boyles made him look silly. I mean, what do you have in that game? Let's see. He had 25 points, 7 rebounds. I mean, he was just really, really dominant there. And that was kind of when that's how he plays. But he's also a great passer. Murray-Boyles is. He's a great passer. Not as good as Amari, but it's almost kind of different. It's, Amari, we know that he's a finessey player that passes the ball well. You don't expect it from Collin Murray-Boyles, but he is a good passer. He'll take it down low, and if someone comes in to help, that's getting kicked out to a wide open shooter. So
and that's exactly where you enter in Jamari Thomas, their point guard, who shoots 37% from 3 on a high amount of shots. So, I mean, those type of guards have killed us all season. We're going to have to fight through screens and close out hard on these guys and not allow open shots like we did at Ole Miss. There was no intentions of closing out on shooters against Ole Miss or even being relatively close to them in a defensive position. So keying in on fighting through screens, closing out strong, just playing very much more aggressive defense is a good start for this team, and I think will propel us to a victory on Saturday if that's what we do.
I'll tell you this right now. South Carolina is the team. I don't know why I've watched like 3 or 4 of their games, but I have. Ugasuk, that kid. If there's going to be someone that comes in here and puts up a random 15, it's going to be Ugasuk. That dude, every time I watch him play, he's hitting clutch threes, but he averages 7 points a game. So maybe I need to not watch the game, I guess, because when I watch Ugasuk, he goes nuts.
Is that the Wildcats Today kiss of death?
No. See, you can't. It's becoming an announcer. When you say that, it becomes no. It's not. If you put it in the universe, perhaps
that's got to be a top 10 name though.
Ugasuk. Yeah, he's from Finland. It says Morris Ugasuk, from Helsinki, Finland. That's an interesting name of his Finland. Okay, but and he also, Ugasuk shoots 56.3% on the road from 3. Ugasuk.
He likes playing on the road.
Road dog.
Hero in him.
Yeah. But South Carolina is a basketball team that if we don't show up, we can lose this game. I think a lot of people just kind of look at records and go, okay, we're playing South Carolina. I'm telling you, this South Carolina team is better than an 0-9 in conference play record. If I remember correctly, they were predicted. They were they were top half in the SEC in the preseason polls. They weren't a top, but still, this was supposed to be a good team. They've had some starters injured, Studi, a longtime SEC guy is not out there. So I think you got to slow down Murray-Boyles and don't let him kick it out to these shooters, but create some damn turnovers. I wrote an article about this and I put it out on our Twitter. Kentucky is currently 337th out of 355 teams in college basketball at creating turnovers. We created one, and I wouldn't even say we created it. It was kind of just Padula just kicking the ball out of bounds. Against Ole Miss on Tuesday, there was 1 turnover for Ole Miss. That is the fewest amount of turnovers in a SEC game by a team in 25 years. We have got – and Carson, you and I talked about this on the phone, and it really grinded my gears. Ole Miss, we couldn't even get into our offense. They were in our face 4-5 feet past the 3-point line. We had nowhere to go. Yes, and you're right. We started to back cut them. You told me on the phone. We started to back cut them to death, and you're right. But still, they were creating pressure, and that's why we turned the ball over a lot in the first half. We did a better job in the second half. I also think Ole Miss kind of took the foot off the gas a little bit. That's why it got a hair interesting for a minute. But we need some defensive pressure. And to me, that's effort. That's not, well, we don't have the athletes. We don't, but it's effort. And I do feel like defensively at times we're not putting out enough effort. And it's really frustrating.
Yeah. And piggybacking off of that, I think in the second half, they came out flat. And then there was also something that came out from the Mark Pope show the other day where he said that there may have been some broken chairs or some stuff in the locker room at halftime that caused him to cut his hand open, and there was some blood and everything. So, hey, you know what? He's one of us. I had a hand injury after the Arkansas game. He had a hand injury in the second half of the Ole Miss game. He's just as frustrated as we are about how uncharacteristic this defensive effort has been. It looks like a different team than 2 months ago. Just the effort wise, doesn't even matter that Lamont's not out there. It's just an effort thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hearing him say that was funny because I mean he really is one of us at heart.
I mean, to me, it's really disappointing though to see I mean, it's cool to see that. I love that he got up in there behind at the half and after the game and all that. That's great. You need to do that. Sometimes I do think Mark Pope's a little bit too much of a bro rather than I will rip your head off. I mean, I think that
Lee Stefaniak.
Precisely. I think there can be a healthy mix of that. You know what I mean? I mean, like Nick Saban, I think is always a great example. I mean, you ever seen the clips? He was up his players' behinds all game, all practice, all game. But then, his players love and respect him. And you can be now there's coaches that are just arses. I mean, you know what I mean? You got to be in the middle. And I think sometimes Pope's a little bit too much on the, it's like you got the cool teacher. Sometimes you take advantage of the teacher that's too nice and cool. Or, people always say that because you can't do that. I think that, we need to see Coach Pope light a fire under them sometimes. And so that was good to see. But more effort has to be out there. It's just I can get if Ole Miss went out there and just beat our ass, plain and simple, which they did, whatever. But when it feels like we're not giving much effort defensively, that's when I get incredibly frustrated. And I was very frustrated with our effort on defense. I do not think we put our heart and soul out there on defense against the Ole Miss Rebels on Tuesday, and it lost you a game. And it's really starting to change the outside view on this Kentucky team. People are losing faith in this team very quickly, and Kentucky's got to find a way to turn that around.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it's been a problem all season long has been the slow starts. We always get behind early in games. And to me, at the beginning of the season, I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's just started off this way. Now I'm starting to question whether that's an effort thing, preparation thing. So that's something to keep an eye on too, because I just thought the effort levels have been the real question mark recently. And part of it as well on the defensive end is personnel too, to be fair. I mean, at the same time, the SEC is the most athletic conference as well as the best conference. But it's harder for these guys to defend against super athletes.
Yeah. Which you saw on against Arkansas a lot. I mean, I don't think we were incredibly out athleticismed on Tuesday. I mean, I think we were a little bit. I mean, you've got to understand, Tega Owe is an incredible athlete. I think that Lamont Butler is a great athlete, which we'll talk about, hopefully, what we consider a positive update on him here in a minute. Mario Williams is a great athlete. But I think, Ainsley's a little bit slow, and Andrew Carr is slow. Travis Perry's, a bit slow at times. Kobe Brea, great shooter. So you can be – two things can be true. You can be a great basketball player or not a great athlete. Travis Perry, great shooter, not the best defensively, and at those, that type of athleticism. Same with Kobe Brea, same with Ainsley Almanor. You can be a great basketball player, not an elite athlete. And I think you have to have a healthy mix of those guys. And I think right now we lean a little bit more. We're also playing without an elite athlete in Lamont Butler right now. But I think that's true for this roster. And I think just knowing who we've got coming in, athletes in our recruiting class, I don't think you're going to see that be the case ever again for Mark Pope.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this would probably be your least athletic team you'll have, which is a good thing, but not for this season. So we're going to have to figure it out soon. And like you said, a good piece of news is that Lamont Butler has gone to non-contact practice. He's back. So that gives me a positive update, which has me thinking that he'll probably be back by next Saturday. If not then probably next at the Wednesday after that against Vandy before that Alabama game to get some run in before that game. So looking good for the Lamont train to come back. So that's a positive. But yeah, let me run a hypothetical by you real quick.
Okay.
If you were to add one former Cat to this team, but it can't be Anthony Davis.
I want
John
Anthony
Wall.
Davis.
What?
Anthony Davis.
It can't be Anthony
Okay,
Davis.
fine.
Then who is it? And why?
That's a tough one. That's a really fun question, but a tough question. I'm sitting here trying to think of someone that was an elite defender because like I could sit here and say we could probably use a guard of I'll tell you what, a guy that I wouldn't hate having on this team though.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Tell me if I'm crazy. I wouldn't mind having Cat on this team. Just because I think
Mark Pope offense would be ridiculous.
That's what I'm kind of saying. And I think at that Cat and Amari Williams, you put those two together. But I mean, I'm trying to think of a defensive guard when we were younger, but someone like Carson Wallace. And I'll tell you why I think that's a name that stands out to me. And you might say, "Man, Carson Wallace." What? The reason I like that name is because he was such. We have our scorers. We need defenders, and he was an elite defensive player. He's an elite defensive player for the best team in the NBA right now. So I think that's a name. Now you go a little more old school on me, but if I want to hear your answer too. But that's a name that I think stands out that I think would fit well with this team.
I love that answer. I really do love that answer. And people don't talk about Carson Wallace enough because his team didn't do as well as people hoped. But he was a baller here, and is a baller for the Thunder right now too.
Yeah.
My pick is going to be Mr. Willie Cauley-Stein.
Okay.
Because defensively, you could put him on anybody.
Yeah.
And I think that solves a lot of problems for us just immediately. Because you got to think, you probably get Lamont back, so your ball handling issues go away.
Yeah.
And then you put Willie in at the 4. Oh, good Lord. Willie and Amari getting all the rebounds, guarding, and then you just have guys chucking up threes.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been quite.
And Willie's a rim runner too, so you just throw up those lobs.
But it is frustrating. Like, I do feel like you're an elite athlete away from this team being great. I mean, Bray has a great, Bray. By the way, it's funny how we're losing games, and once again, those of you that listen to us every time we put a show out know that I tend to be more negative than Carson does. But I'll tell you this: you want to hear me kind of get everybody a little fired up? Jackson Robinson's playing damn good basketball right now. So is Amari Williams. Our problem is defense. If we can find a way to get a little bit more defensive pressure and get, with Lamont come back helps that. Our guys are playing good ball as we get deeper in the season. The defense, we are running into, I'll be honest with y'all. I mean, Ole Miss, I know that we're not a great defensive team. They're not doing that again, though. I mean, that was some of those,
Andrew, those were open gym shots. I sat here and watched them take post shots that no one was even near, or contested. I was sick. They were at the free throw line and no one was even 5 feet from them.
Yeah. And it's like, so I don't know.
Me and you would make those shots. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, so what I'm saying is I don't think they're ever going to shoot like that again. I know that they had a lot open, but they also made some. I can remember 5 shots.
Some of the 3-pointers were step backs and
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying shots. we're bumping into people's best night times.
And the defense in the second half was much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm not putting it all to an excuse. Yes, our defense wasn't good, but still they made a lot of tough shots where there was some contest that I just think that we bumped into a rough night. I'll tell you that. 2 things can be true. They hit some tough shots and we played terrible defense. That, and I think both those things are true. But I I just kind of think what goes around is going to come around. I think that we're going to bump into a rough night for some teams here and there. But it needs to happen soon because, I mean, this can get out of control quick. Even if you win on Saturday, if you go on to lose Tennessee and you lose in Austin, we're starting to get in a rough spot. So we got to start stacking some wins quickly, and Lamont getting back on the court hopefully soon helps with that a little bit. So Carson, give me a score prediction and an MVP for this game. I think I went first last time. I did.
Yeah. I think creating turnovers is going to be the biggest key down the stretch, because not only does this team have a hard time staying in front of people on the defensive end, but it also helps our offense that much more when you do create turnovers. But all in all, I think we end up winning this game. I think we win. I think we actually score over 90 this game. I think we score 95. I don't think our defense is going to be as much as I want it to be good. I don't think it's going to be good. I think they score 86. And the MVP, I think Amari Williams gets the MVP again. I mean, it's hard to pick against him after what he's done the past couple games. He's just coming into himself, and it's really exciting to see.
Yeah, that's a good take there. They're better. South Carolina is better defensively in KenPom. They are 121st offensively, or 131st, offensively, and 44th defensively. They're a little better defensively, but not good, not elite enough to shut us down. So hopefully this will be a game where it'll make our defense maybe look a little better than it is. Because once again, it really feels like it's Collin Murray-Boyles, the kid that can shoot that you talked about. I already forgot his name. What was that kid's name?
Oh gosh, it was Thomas.
Not gonna
let me find it.
It
was Jamari Thomas.
They're good at players, but I mean, this is not a great South Carolina offense. So hopefully our defense looks maybe better than it is. Maybe give us a little confidence boost moving forward. I think Kentucky wins this one at 85-72. I think that we're going to see another big shooting day from Jackson Robinson in this one. I think he's going to have near 20, 18 to 20 in this one. So that is my prediction. Anything else, Carson, before we get out of here?
No, that's it. Hope everyone enjoys this weekend. Cheer on the Cats on Saturday, and then there's a big one on Sunday that I'm already nervous for, the Super Bowl. So hope everyone enjoys the Super Bowl this Sunday.
Such a terrible game. It's hard to get excited about. There's two terrible fan bases. Oh, gosh.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
No. Hit a plane. Eagles hit a plane. I mean, my goodness. I just do not like birds right now. Goodness gracious.
Gamecocks.
What?
Isn't that a bird or a chicken?
What? Oh, gamecock?
A gamecock.
I think it's a chicken. I'm not entirely sure. We'll figure that out because they got that's more of a
chicken.
It
can't fly.
Yeah, touche. Neither can I. That is going to do it for today's episode of the Wildcats Today podcast. Really appreciate y'all stopping by. Everyone enjoy the ball game this weekend. Going to be a fun one. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see y'all next time. Have a great weekend.